actually thrown a solution to this. Right? And
Somebody is doing
probably
the
a
same.
startup is coming to pick up my idea, and I'll take a pride on that.
Hello, hi Farhan. Welcome to the Curious Show. Thank you for coming on.
Hi, Ronak. Wonderful to be here, and I think looking forward for this. Thank you.
Thanks. So before we get started, Farhan, why don't you just introduce yourself? Who is Farhan? What is Farhan up to for everyone listening?
Sure. So I'll start with a little about my professional background, and then give you some just about who I am, where I'm coming from as well. Right. So I bring around 16 years now. In fact, yes, 16 years in the industry, doing HR throughout my career. Name something in HR, and I think I have done that. But I'm specialist in my talent acquisition skills. That's how I've been known in the industry for. Right. A little bit about my personal background. I'm hailing from Assam. I've come to Bangalore sometime in the year 2005, yes, for my studies, and then ever since, the I think the city got into me, and I could never leave Bangalore, right? Uh, and also married with a beautiful wife, and very recently I've been blessed with a baby boy.
Oh,
He is five
congratulations.
months old. Yeah, thank you so much, Ranak. And yes, got into fatherhood now. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Sorry that I'm interrupting the show, but first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking your time out and listening to the pod. I hope that you're getting some value from the conversations that we have. Now, I have one request from everyone listening in. It will be really, really helpful for me if you can just go ahead and click a subscribe. I did an analysis and it appears that 95% of the people who listen to the show don't hit a subscribe. Now, the thing is, if I don't get those subscriber numbers, it's going to be pretty unsustainable to be doing this show for a long time. And the idea of this is not fame, popularity, but it's just to get the word and the message across to as many people as we possibly can. Right. So, can we have sort of like a gentleman and a ladies' agreement between us where if you've got any value from the show, you want to support me putting out more people related content and interesting conversations in the people space, please take a minute out and hit the subscribe button. I'll really, really appreciate it. Thank you. And back to the show.
That's great. That's great. From the work side, if you could just talk a little bit about your
Yeah.
professional journey.
Uh, so on the work side, so I'm currently working with Teachmint. Right, Teachmint is it's a B2B software. Right, it's a B2B software where we're kind of helping the education industry, especially schools. We call it ISP. It's an integrated school platform, right, where we tend to bring the parents, the teachers, the school owners, the students to one platform, or rather, I would say it's a one-stop solution for anything that you need to do about school, right? So that's what the company does. A little bit about my role. I currently lead the people, talent, and admin function here, right? And with Teachment, my journey has been 1.5 year now, right? Previous to Teachment, I was with Misho. I think that's the time when Misho was becoming a rocket ship, right? I've spent 2.5 years with Misho. Did a lot of hiring there. I was one of the talent acquisition leader, was focusing on growing product. Uh, I still remember Misho those days was just about picking up its e-commerce, right? And we have giants like Amazon, Flipkart, and Mintra, where we had to put our mark as well. Misho days were very good. We did so much aggressive hiring. I literally scaled the product leadership team, right, and the non-tech businesses. Previous to Misho, it was with a real estate company, but I would say it's a hospitality. That was 91 Springboard, and I worked for CoWorks as well. CoWorks, if you're very familiar with co-working spaces in the country, CoWorks is someone which is very similar to premium spaces like
Mm.
WeWork. But I take a lot of pride saying that I was the first employee for CoWorks, and
Oh wow.
I've seen that company growing from just my employer being 0001 to growing to everywhere, length and breadth of the country, right? With a lot of employees and centers to um, prior to that, I think I was not known to the startup world. I worked with some really world class uh, giants like Denso Kirloskar, which is part of Toyota Group, right? Worked with Aditya Birla, worked with 24/7. Yeah. So that's my journey, and I think throughout my journey, during my introduction, I did say about I picked up various areas of human resources, right? But talent acquisition is something that kind of that's the passion I have throughout my career of 16 years. I've been doing this from day one probably. Along with that, I've picked up charters like HR business partnering, then compensation benefits, L&D also. I've done three plus years of L&D as well, right? And yep. So and then HR ops. Yep. Those are few things. And admin is another function that I've been passionate about because that's the function which is slightly silent in our organization, but it caters to the
Mm.
experience of employees, not just internal but external as well. So picked up that as well. So I think that's totally what my career looks like
Oh, that's pretty much everything. There's nothing that has been
now.
left untouched. And I've always wanted to ask you this, that there's a lot of people like who aspire from, who are in TA, right? Who've built their whole career in TA, because once you get in TA, somehow I found people find it difficult to move out, right? But you've transitioned out and now you're the head of people, right? So any,
Sure.
and I know particularly a lot of people who are in TA and who aspire towards being the head of
Sure.
people, right? So any sort of actionable steps or journeys or tips that you have for them, or is there a
Yeah.
path that they
Yeah.
can follow that
Yeah.
leads you there?
Right, right. I think I love this question and probably share my thoughts to this. Right. See, talent acquisition has evolved in many folds. Right. Earlier, talent acquisition. In fact, the talent acquisition word is not too old in the system. Or probably people were familiar with the word called recruiters, recruitment. Right. That's how it's been there. Uh, it has evolved from just going and recruiting and going for mass hiring to strategic hiring to kind of very very different part of hiring, right? Leadership hiring. So it's a mix of so many hirings. One thing that TA and probably I personally done is I've evolved myself from becoming an acquisition guy to becoming an advisor, right? And I can only be an advisor when I have depth of business what I am in, depth of the function that I'm, and probably having the right foresight of how the business is going to look like wherever I am, and the foresight of the department as well. So once you become an advisor, right, that's when you actually end up guiding the entire organization. That hey, you know what, talent acquisition is something this for the organization. This is what it looks should. This is how it should look, right? And once you get more and more depth, I think the organization tends to believe that hey, uh, you know what, he's just not our TA, he's an advisor to people function. And more and more knowledge that you have towards a business, I think people tends to also start respecting you, and start taking you as a mentor in many areas as well, right? You will end up guiding leaders. This is all about the trust that you win for the organization, and you don't have to run for the people leader ones. I think I personally never did. It happened to me, 2 3 organizations that I've worked. It is just about how insightful you are about the business, and I think foresight is something very important. And I would advise all my fellow TA folks that hey, it's high time that you become an advisor than just going and acquiring talent in the market, right? Yeah.
And this is like true for everyone in people, right? And
Yep.
it's weird that not everyone does it, right? Knowing their business. Uh,
Yep.
there's so many
Yep.
people who don't know their business, who are just regurgitating versus actually getting depth into the business.
Yep.
It
True
helps
that.
if you're in the functions, like for me, I'm at Work India, which is in hiring, right?
Sure.
Teachment is in some sort of L&D. I think that helps, but yeah, great points.
In fact, Ronak, I would rather see this as talent function is the only function who has the opportunity to learn every function, right?
Actually, yeah.
You actually have an opportunity to go to the depth of every function, right? You get to know every function at phase by phase, level by level, right? Because you have just got that opportunity to kind of scale up every function, right? So this is a great opportunity. I would rather see the new CEOs coming from the talent function in future. I'll not be surprised, right? This is one place where now talent is also learning business.
Mm. In fact, I'll tell you, like, the job evaluation exercise that we are doing, our common friend who's in TA is actually driving that with a consultant, because he's the only one who knows every little function, every little role, what everyone does. And sort of gave me
Interesting.
an aha moment that when they came to me, I was like, look, I'm not the person who knows this. It's him who knows this, because he's done the hiring. He's written the job descriptions himself, talking to the
Sure,
business
sure,
leaders.
sure.
Yeah. Cool. Let's taking a little segue, because you worked with startups so much, and also you worked in startups who've gone 0 to 1, and then Misho, like, who
Yep.
scaled.
Yep.
And I think one of the P0 things for any startup is hiring, right? You've got to get your hiring right, right? We'll talk about how do you attract talent on a little later, but one thing that people don't put enough time and attention is actually designing their hiring process, right? In turn, then you end up hiring wrong talent, and then you get into that whole spiral, right? So what would be your best practices that you've seen that works for a young startup who's going 0 to 1, or who's sort of consolidating, to
Sure.
design a hiring process?
So, I've myself kind of done this journey from 0 to 1, right? And uh, one mistake, or I would rather say one correction needed by all the startup is, uh, I would say 50% of their hiring is experimental, right? It is to solve one problem and doesn't have a career to it, right? Most of the startups tend to hire to solve problems and not build careers, right? And that's where the biggest mistake happens, because in once the problem is solved, you will not be able to create interest for the resource, or rather you will see the role getting redundant, right? I think one very clear advice to startups: it's okay to be slow. You will not be out of the game, right? But hire to build careers than just to solve problems, because careers will make companies, not just solve problems. And I think if you hire for careers, I think problem solving is a part of that, right? So that's one thing that I would always give an advice to startups.
But let's get a little tactical on that. I'll just give you an example, and again from real life. Let's say you fundraising, right? Is the need
Sure,
of the hour.
sure,
Now you can do it yourself, but you can always
sure,
get an expert, right, who's led fundraising. But
sure,
fundraising is always point in time, right?
sure.
Now, if I don't raise the funds, I might be out of business. Now, I will
Yep.
need to hire that person. But then the question also comes: what happens
Mhm.
after I raise the fundraise? Because I'm not going to raise for the next 1.5 odd years,
Yep,
hopefully,
yep, yep.
right? In that conundrum, what am I supposed to do?
So I would rather see this getting answered. In fact, most of the startups are smart these days to kind of work towards that, right? So um, a lot of new startups have started hiring from the consulting biggies, the consulting
Mm,
biggies, let's say all the MBBs, right? And you would see all of these profiles, they are generalist profile, right? And they are literally problem solvers, and they work best for 0 to 1. So they are not functional expert. What they are good at is literally solving problems, and probably we hire uh, the frontliners who are these, right, who tends to solve one problem and move to the next problem. and not need not necessarily be a part of one function, right? uh, the career trajectory for these elite task force is eventually they end up growing to PNL leaders. Most of the organization you would see
Mm.
the new PNL leaders are not your old sales guy who's been carrying near about 15-20 years of experience, but a fresh IM grad of like say 5 to 6 years of experience will actually solve this problem, move ahead, and are are looking at solving this problem out of the box, right? He has eventually done the setting of many folds of the organization, right? From a generalist function to have moved to becoming a PNL leader. So this is one route that I see. Now the question comes is, I needed this, so I've hired an expert, right? Now what happens is, if you hire an expert who does this literally, right? So once you raise fund, like you are a Series A, you completed Series A. Now the journey from Series A to B could be 6 months as minimum, and probably a maximum could be just there is no time limit to that, right?
Mm.
What will this resource do next, right? So
Mm.
one, if you could already figure out that, hey, you know what, 50% of your job will be to help us raise the funds, then your job transform to pick up one of these function, and this is the function that you need to kind of
Mm.
lead for next 2-3 years till we raise another funding. If that is already done, then probably it's a great way to in fact go. But this needs to be created well in advance, and not just after realizing that, hey, we just raised our funds and we just don't know what this amazing guy can do now.
So that brings it back to that, right? When you're hiring, be very very clear your point, right? What that growth path is, what is the job description, especially at a 0 to 1. Yeah.
Like,
So that brings me to the second part, right? Which
sure.
which is the difficult part now, because now that the money is dried up, which is on branding. I won't, let's not bring branding. I'll say, how do you attract talent, right? When you had a lot of money, you could throw money and attract it, but how do you do sustainably going forward?
Sure. So, I think gone are those days after 2021 where salary was the only attracting or most attractive thing for a person to join a company, right? 2021 we actually created unhirables, right?
Yes.
And all the unhirables have actually shared their learning with all their colleagues and friends. You know what? I asked this much and I just got everything that I have asked, right? And now I am unhirable. So the next generation have actually taken learning from the unhirables, or are so called the expensive resources. Now they're figuring out what is my career for a couple of years in any of these startups, right? So with the startups, um, with the trend being redundant roles, getting into layoffs, this has become very very scary, or an unaccounted risk for anyone to kind of jump into, right? So now I think the best way to attract talent is purely on culture, right?
Mm.
What's the organization, or what the people in that organization are thinking? What's the growth map look like, right? What's the runway looking like? Do they have enough cash to survive for 5 years, right, or 4 years? And I think the culture will play a lot of important role here. And one of the best ways, in fact, I've very recently I was trying to hire someone, and then and I openly say that, you know what, I'll not be able to give you the cash that you want, right? But I can challenge you about the culture that I have built in this organization is world class. He said very clearly that this is very generic. I said, yes, you can validate this. One of the best ways to learn about culture is to read the policies a company have, right? It is a clear indication about how the culture looks like in that company. And I was very, I took a lot of pride to in fact run him through all our policies. And then that's when he actually said, I think it's a company that I need to be for sure, right? So yes, I think culture is the answer at the moment. I would always request all the people leaders that gone are those days where you create attractive packages, you create your benchmark in what percentile of salaries or compensation you be at. But I would rather say start focusing on culture that you build on, and people will stay with us, or and the people who are staying with us will call the others to be with us, right? So the word of mouth will be the best branding here.
That's great. That's great. I'll double click on something that you
Sure.
brought up also, which is on the career growth,
Sure.
right? Now, how important is that? Um, uh, how important one is that, and two, how do you actually do that? Let's say it's a young company, right, who don't have that figured out yet.
Hmm.
How are you positioning that to, let's say, somebody who's coming in?
Yeah, I think, in fact, thanks for asking me this question. I was trying to solve this for my organization, and I'll take a little pride that we have been able to solve this a little. But I think there's a long journey to this. Uh, this is one of the second mistake that startups tend to do is put up unrealistic growth leap when you just joined, right? You join as a manager in 6 months, you become senior manager another 6 months, probably an associate director. If this growth continues, then in 3 years to 4 years, probably you're vice president, or in the sixth year you'll become CEO, right? So which is unrealistic, uh, unless you are so brilliant that this just just everything, and which is very rare, right? So I think one important thing for startups to also do, or any company, is to set a specific performance period to be judged, right? And that performance period need to be at least a year plus, right? And I'll give you a logic to why it's a year plus, right? So let's say someone who joins a function, right? It actually takes near about a month to 2 months to actually get accommodated
Yeah.
uh, with the function, with the organization goals and values, right? Get adjusted with the people function, get adjusted with how people behave, right? Literally third month is when he feels that, hey, you know what, this is the place I want to be, and the motivation actually comes from there, right? No matter which organization you put this, this is a unsaid truth, right? We may create push factor right in the first week, first month, but this is how it's going to look like. The fourth month onwards is something where needle will start moving. By 6 month, the person gets to know that there are few more things that can be done. Seventh or eighth month, probably an impact can be felt, and how big that impact was, how much did the needle move for the organization, is something that needs to be assessed in another 4 to 5 months. So it already took your 1 year, right? Then other factors will anyways run. So I always see that we should definitely promote, we should have a culture of promoting people to next level, but there should be a specific performance period, and that performance period needs to have at least a year plus for someone. And actually it also kind of created an unrealistic thought that someone who joins a startup should get promoted immediately, right? So it's not true, right? And this is how it should be, right? There's just no shortcut to it. Many of the folks that leave an MNC to join a startup because I know I will get promotion every year. Uh, Probably yes, because there is less headcount, but there has to be a specific performance period. So very simple, you lay down a specific or said performance period for any role, right? And there has to be a growth plan or a success plan created for each of these roles, right? And then you kind of set an expectation right from day one, or I do this expectation setting for the entire organization. That is another mistake. Probably third biggest mistake is right expectation setting, right? So in a startup, the expectation setting is done very late, right? So most of the evaluations or reviews are chaotic. Somebody gets to know that his rating out of 5 is just 2, and he realized this after 6 months because the manager was forced to rate, and there has never been a feedback period. And on the fifth month 20th day manager reveal, hey, you stand at 2 because you haven't done this. This is an organization which is will not grow, will en route to failure, right? So yes, I think that's where expectation setting actually comes very handy.
I'll, I know I'm taking a segue, but I have to ask this. So let's say this has happened, right? Someone's
Sure.
got a 2 on 5. Uh, Now, obviously, like that person is very demotivated. Now, what do you do after that? Because there's either two things will happen. The person either leaves, right, or the person continues in that demotivated way. How do you motivate that person up? Uh, so that two is not a bad news. The two is taken as a good news, and this is something that I've seen, I've experienced.
So,
Um,
so one, I think it's very sad to be at that part of the organization, right? Rather, I would always say that be proactive to actually get an understanding to give an understanding that why would somebody be at 2 and what it needs to be at 3 or 4 or 5, right? uh, so it is clearly a dent. There's no better way to go and talk to that person and say that you know what, I feel that these are 10 things that you haven't done and because of which you are 2, right? It is okay to go and tell that, hey, we are not very mature at our rating system. The rating system is very new. The rating system new makes it the managers to rethink on the entire period. Because of the new benchmarks, it has pushed all our managers to review at a phase which is already late, right? And in order to rate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, each of these rating has certain criteria, and currently you fall under this criteria, right? We completely agree that we haven't done this before for you, which is a dent in the organization. And from 2 to 3 is where we need to be. We don't expect you to turn out to be 4 within a week or a month, but a progress is a success that we should celebrate, and we should be transparent enough to that employee that, hey, this is something that very new we started. And don't sugarcoat, don't ever cover up this with excuses. And please remember that we are all working with adults. We need to be transparent. I think anyone and everyone will understand when it is truth to them. And it is okay to say that, hey, you know what, we screwed up. It's fine, right? We all go through ups and downs. We are all human beings. We're supposed to make mistakes, but it is okay to start when we know that we have done a mistake and we shouldn't be doing it anymore.
it's lovely, lovely. I hope people listening in, listen to this, actually follow this, because it's fair. I mean, if you haven't done it,
Yep, yep,
there's no point in making up a story. Just be honest.
yep.
Cool.
Very
Uh, I'll come back to TA because I wanted to touch on one of the posts that I read that you recently done, which is on, see, a lot gets said about the candidate side, and we'll come to that. But an
sure.
equal element and an important element in the whole interview process is the interviewer himself or herself.
Yep, yep, yep.
What advice would you have, right, for, or what are the thought processes and best practices for, the ways to conduct an actual effective interview that gets you results?
So, see, interview, I would say the word interview, I would always want to park it to a basket which is not going to be there when I'm talking to someone. I would say this is conversation which ends up giving information from both the sides, from interviewer side and from the interview side as well, right? One thing that an interviewer need to understand that, hey, it is just not you who's assessing, you are also getting assessed,
Yeah.
right? So that's what an interviewer always fails to understand, and he takes up the seat of being the king, right? So that's where the failure starts, right? If I'm going to get interviewed by someone, I will clearly judge the culture of that organization, the person who is interviewing me, right? I may end up clearing that interview, or may not, but the first move for me towards that organization to judge how the interview process looks like,
Hmm.
who is interviewing me, right? So uh, the first advice to all the interviewers that, hey, remember that you are the brand ambassadors of values of that organization. Second is, you're the ambassador who is delivering experience, right? Third, you need him,
Mm.
right? Fourth is, this person who comes inside will help you and your team and your organization grow. So you need to be grateful for that person, that who is taking out time from his personal life to take a chance to grow you and your organization, right? uh, like the interviewer has 100 candidates, the interview has 100 of organizations to try as well. He will get job somewhere, right? So I think first get understanding of this reality, right? And make this as a conversation where you not only seek information but also give information, right? If this is very clear with any interviewer, that hey, you're not just assessing but you're also getting assessed, I think it will not be an interview, it will be a moment of experience for either side, right? And then we decide that hey, probably person is great, but probably I don't need this skills at this point of time.
That's great. I think I'll add one thing to that, which is on the starting point. Come on time. I think the biggest mistake is if you don't come on time, you're like you said, the culture, the person at the other
Yep,
side will
yep,
think this is a
yep.
culture where it's okay to be late. Yeah, yeah.
In
Cool.
fact, it's the Ronak. I think I would say no billionaire or millionaire in this world can ever do one thing is change time or buy time, right? So this is the most expensive thing in the world today, right? So you need to respect it, right? If you are late by 5 minutes or 2 minutes, first of all, be apologetic. It's fine sometimes to get late, because we definitely come through things which are unintentional, unplanned, which makes someone late. It's okay, but put all your kind efforts to ensure that you are there in that meeting on time, because one thing that you will never be able to buy back is the time for someone who's investing on you, right? So that is super super important, and I personally take it very seriously, right? And yeah, I think the first most important principle in an interview or in an interaction is be on time.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, I try to come like 2 minutes early, and I love when I see
Sure,
there's somebody already on the other side. This shows
sure.
always sets up on a very positive note when there's
Yep,
someone
yep,
who's already
yep.
there. One thing I've always struggled with, and this is more a personal question, is on an interview how much, and I'm saying from the lens of I am an interviewer, uh, and I'm having that conversation as you said, how much
Sure,
of how much information can I give out, right? Because there's always a question, right? And we encourage questions from the other side, ask
sure,
about the company, ask about things. What's the right amount of info that you can give out? Because there's no NDA, there's nothing stopping that other
sure,
person from talking about this information, right? What's
sure.
your experience been like here?
Got it. So there's a mantra that I follow very, very clearly, and that's where I give entire weightage to. When we are interviewing or hiring someone, right? We are not just hiring one person; we are hiring the entire family. You're hiring the children's dream for those person if he has children. You're hiring the parents' dream. You're hiring the food for that family. You're hiring school. You're hiring everything that's going inside that house, right? So you should by now understand that how critical this is going to be for someone's life. So once you realize this, you should also understand that, you know what, you are playing a very crucial part to make someone able enough to take the right decision, right? Now in this process, you should give enough information for someone enabling them to make the right decision, right? I'll also say sometimes in my interviews I'm very clear that probably I'll also tell what is yet to be done well in our organization and what is done well, right? So it becomes enough ground or enough points for someone to make a wise decision. And if someone ever comes back and says that, hey Farhan, I've heard great things, that what are things that are going well, and I've also heard from you what are things that is not going well. And he comes to me and says that, or she comes to me and says that, I've actually decided not to go ahead because the ones that did not go well, which is currently organization is yet to pick it up, uh, is a very crucial thing for me, right? I'm fine with that candidate not joining us, but the candidate will carry that respect for rest of my life, and will carry the image of the organization that, hey, you know what, it's not Farhan, it was Teachmint, which was very very transparent to tell that what isn't there and what is it there, right? So I often see those candidates coming back. They're very healthy relations that I have created, right? uh, when a candidate comes back and says that, you know what, I think I want to join with you guys again. And I'm quite sure that the problem statement that you said is taken care. And he comes back with that faith that you know what, this organization is going to be true to me. And most of the employees you would see in first 3 months, they're very, I would say, very bold statements that, you know what, I joined with some other aspirations, but the reality is different. Right? And it's very alarming and unhealthy sign for an organization when an employee says that I've joined and the reality is different.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that. You're hiring the entire family. I've never thought of it this way, and it's such an important, where you work is such an important part of your life,
Sure.
and
Sure.
uh, the interview process is I think P0 there, right?
Yeah.
Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that. I think I'll continue this train of
Sure.
thought. We spoke about the interviewer, but what about the candidate side also, right? What should the candidate, because like we just spoke of, it's an important decision both for the employer as well as the candidate, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, what should the candidate's thought process or evaluation process be, right, when they are looking to join a company? And I'm forgetting 2021, like that didn't happen. I'm saying right now, what what, it's not money, what should they be looking at now?
Yeah, I think one advice to candidates, which probably I'll see 7 to 8 out of 10 will make a mistake, is uh, that 40 45 minutes to 1 hour, and a candidate tries his or her best to kind of influence a decision. That I would rather say influence a decision, right? Influence a decision towards for himself or herself, right? Uh, there, I think. I would always request and appreciate if a candidate is also as transparent as possible. One is the person who's interviewing you is has probably interviewed many, right? So by now he understands that what is in it and what is not there. So one, he or she will most likely will figure out, right, where in what is the depth for you in that particular function or for what you're getting assessed with, right? Second is post 2021, I think all the assessments have happened towards what is your motivation for, or what is the motivation for someone to join, right? A lot of weightage is actually given to folks on the weightages now. What is he seeking? Because most of our organizations have actually understood that it's not going to be just salary year on year growing like in 2021 2020, right? So so what is in it for him to get motivated? I think these are areas where a candidate should be very transparent, because unlike an MNC, or even MNCs does that, most of the companies are ready to accept you when you're true, when they see your motivation to join the company is very clear. Even if your motivation to join a company is just about finances, it's okay to say that I'm currently aspiring to be at this finance and then probably bring some stability. It is okay, but be honest, right? Your
Exactly.
this behavior will ensure that people will start picking on the areas where you need development, right? There'll be a hiring manager who says, you know, Farhan, he is good at these five elements. and sixth, seventh, and eighth is something that I can compromise and get it done from someone else. But I really love this attitude because I see him having that stickiness. I see him getting invested by us. I see him as someone whom I'm looking at a long-term career aspiration. And he was honest. How often do you come across honest candidates, right? It's just 1 hour of so much of influence, and then you get hired, and then you get to know that hey, you're not very good at this, right? So, yeah, I think I would always request candidates to be as honest as possible. Even if you're getting rejected, then it's a better decision in your favor, actually.
Got it. Got it. Another double click on that, and I'm sure you get inundated with a lot of messages on, LinkedIn, as I do, looking for this role, right? I think everyone agrees unanimously that just one sentence is not the right way, right, to approach standing out in front of, recruitment. So one question I had, and I want to get your way in on this, is, see, we recruiters are inundated with a lot of applications, right? There's so many volumes that you have to deal with, and not everybody gets it. But the reality is that, what are the ways that you've seen works best from a candidate perspective who's listening in, to stand out, right? To get your foot a little bit more in the door than the traditional ways of doing it. In your experience, what's worked?
So, one thing that all of us need to understand and accept the fact that uh, India is the largest supplier of workforce. That given the fact that we are also most populated, right? So, no AI, no technology is built, to my knowledge, yet who can solve the problem of applications, right? To an extent. So, uh, because we are largely populated, our workforce is the biggest in the world, right? So this problem will continue, and it's going to be slightly disheartening to say that hey, there's no such better ways. We're trying to adopt AIs. We are trying to adopt application tracking system which picks up keywords and throws the most relevant CV the first. uh, Unfortunately, I haven't come across that these AIs or these tools have actually helped me screen the best resume. But I have one suggestion which probably works well is, in case you're sending an application, right, send a subject of what problem you're trying to solve in a very, very small, I would say, the most catchy part of a resume, right? Even if your resume is not visible in the inbox of a recruiter, the quirky subject line catches, right? Could be, I'm solving problems. I have solved 100 problems of recruitment. Would you want to talk to me? Right? It looks very branding specific, but it will definitely catch attention, right?
For sure.
And I received an application very recently, right? Which says, I am 21 years old, but I am 30, right? And it actually caught my attention to see why is this person. And then I realized someone is looking for an internship with me, right? And the reason why she or he has said it's 30, because in the resume the person actually wrote about the knowledge he or she acquired, which looks like someone at 8 years or 9 years of experience can throw. So the candidate was clearly kind of saying that, you know what, I'm 21, but I can work like a 30-year-old force for you. Right. So these are small hacks, but you need to constantly evolve. It should not be that you end up becoming a spam, right? Uh,
That's true.
in ATS, I think what also works is how you also save your resume, right? Most of the time, it's like Farhan's resume, Ronak's resume with the name, but there also you can say talent acquisition 12 years. resume, right? And then bracket properly your name. So these are small hacks that works well, right? But having said that, the other thing that what is getting disappointed is you just receive one liner saying that, hey, thanks for your application, but we just not the best one. It is okay,
Hmm.
please accept. There's no better way to sugarcoat this. uh, the aim should be you getting to know what's a fact. The fact is, you're not shortlisted. Live with it. I think be bold with it. There's no just better way to sugarcoat this, and I think it's ego massaging there. That how well can you take or accept rejection? It if you're best when you're able to accept rejection. So even if someone sends you one word rejected, be very patient and appreciate it, that you got to know the fact, and be bold enough to take or accept rejections.
Yeah, in fact, a lot of companies don't do that. Like very few companies actually send out those rejection mails.
Yeah,
I've seen GlaxoSmithKline do wonderfully that as part of their interview process. They have to take sort of like a small psychometry test, and the rejection mail was basically an analysis of the test. Like I even
sure.
forgot that the actual body of the mail was that I'm rejected. I went into that. Um,
Yeah, and in
cool.
fact,
Yeah.
rightly said, Ronak. There are males. I still remember one of the founders that I was working very closely with said, Farhan, we're being very blunt in an email. We should respect the candidate. That you know what, you gave so much of time. We acknowledge. We love your. It's a beautiful mail of saying. Um, it's a feel good factor. Honestly, the time has passed on, right? We are way above feel good factor, because in that feel good factor of first 3 4 lines, you actually end up raising hopes. The first 2 3 lines, he or she reads are like, okay, am I getting shortlisted? Am I getting real? And the last line said, unfortunately. Right. So I think there lies a bigger disappointment than you just say that, hey, we're very sorry to inform you that we loved your application, and we'll see. And that's true also. Probably we may want to look at your application later, but at the moment we'll not be going forward with you. It's fine.
Got it. Got it. So from a CV standpoint, again, taking the same thread forward from a candidate perspective, right? The one thing that you have is, of course, you have your cold emails, but ultimately you lead with your CV, right? That's that one your kundli sort of, which is getting your fortunes. Is there any hacks or any best practices, let's call it, that you've seen that catches either your attention? That's one, because there's a human reading it, and second, also the machine's attention that someone can actually follow.
Yeah. So one, I would rather say 10, 15 years back, I've seen CVs. I myself had CV of some 6 pages, I still remember. I literally wrote everything that I've done, right? In like stories and all of them. And I realized that how stupid I was, and then actually started following trends, not just in India, across the globe. I was kind of reading CVs across, right? So from there to now, I think it has evolved. It is evolved in few things. One is, someone who's writing the CV needs to understand that one word or keyword is enough for the recruiter or the hiring manager to understand what you know, right? Second thing is, you need not explain much. If I'm reading a CV of a IT recruiter, if he says that I've hired SD1, SD2, SD3, it is enough for me to know that he knows to hire on SD1, SD2, SD3, or write few technologies, right? But you need not write SD1, I have hired these many people with these many knowledges, and 4 5 lines on SD1, SD2, SD3. It's not required, just one
Hmm.
line that I know I have hired SD1, SD2, SD3. Right. So that is enough information for me to kind of evaluate that. Also, these are also going to be your keywords in your resume. So fill your resume with enough keywords. The keywords work magic for someone's resume to get picked up, and keep it as short, crisp, and meaningful as possible, right? And that's the secret of any resume to be successful, right? And also the resume should have LinkedIn access. Obviously credentials will be there, uh, and probably on the education part, just write your highest qualification. I've seen 3 lines, school, graduation, master's, PhD. Not required. Just write your highest qualification, right? Don't need to write your age there. Just give your contact number, right? And your email ID, and probably LinkedIn link. So make your resume as short as possible. In fact, the CXO's resumes have evolved these days. They just don't write how many organizations and all of that. They put their link where LinkedIn can operate. They write a very small summary of that. Hey, I bring 25 years of experience. In my 25 years of experience, in that 2 lines they will write, I have worked with these many organizations for these many years. I've been able to solve revenue from here to here. I've moved the revenue from a 4 million in year 2021 to I've moved it to 16 million in year 2023. That's enough, right? So I think resumes need to keep evolving. So I think the right pointer is keywords, and keep it as short as possible and as meaningful as possible.
Lovely, lovely. Get that. Like something that I've seen. The more experience you get, the shorter your resume
Yep,
becomes.
yep, yep, yep.
It's people with lesser experience who go on.
Yeah,
Cool. I want to double touch on something that you said, right? And that's very close to my heart, which is tech and AI.
sure,
And somebody who did try to start up, I did start up in the recruitment space in
sure.
technology. Why do you think in your experience that you've seen, and you mentioned that you've not seen any technology AI being able to solve the recruitment problem, particularly the matching, basically the shortlisting problem. uh, there is something that's peeved me, and have spoken to many people on this. Why do you, in your experience, why do you think so? Why isn't a technology being able to solve this massive problem? Like Google tried, got out of it. So many companies are coming, not being able to do it. Why is it so?
To be frank enough, Ronak, I don't see any company who has actually been able to solve it till date, right? To my knowledge, and I'll tell you, there's a simple reason, and probably people are trying to keep solving this. Uh, you are touching the human element, and the human element has something called uh, getting comfortable and getting uncomfortable. Basically, whenever there's a new technology, you're also trying to make someone uncomfortable, right? If a recruiter wants to read the resume by clicking, by reading, he's fine with reading hundreds of CVs per day. If you want to make him read just 10 meaningful CVs, he may not be just saying yes. He would still see that 90 CVs also gives him an understanding of some 90 other positions in future, right? So there are recruiters who would want to read the 100 resumes. So it's a game of influencing people, right? People behavior. The right approach was just about creating a marketplace. LinkedIn is a marketplace. Why this is why it is successful. The moment you try to surpass human behavior and make intelligent stuff to make interesting and important decisions based on AI, not many leaders have been very passionate about using that, right? He or she stood wanted to use their own intelligence, own experience of 15 years or 20 plus years to scout the resumes. And that's how the game is, right? Example, if I go to naukri.com, rather than clicking on Naukri AI, I'll still go to that Boolean and use that old traditional Indian style or the world style with few catchy words and create my Boolean. I know I would do a better result than the AI, right? So I think, and that's the reason why this industry, I think many people tried. Um, I know you have tried as well, but I have not. Many of others have also tried making work, marketplace for referrals. Can I make this game slightly more comfortable? It's just not going to work, and I feel India market is too large to solve this as a problem. If this problem was in a country where or rather say the population is less and it's a very niche scale. And also another thing is, um, very interestingly, Indian workforce is very evolving, right? uh, Few years back, React R was so rare, right? It was just few months. I could see someone writing React R many ways, right? So React R is so common today, right? So similarly, it also makes the AI very complicated, because it every day is so much fast changing that I don't think so AI is equipped to cope up to that yet.
So you're saying, let's just double click a little on this, because I know,
Sure.
I personally know people who are still trying to use AI
Hmm.
to hone down at least on the matching problem, because I think everyone agrees that that first level of filtration is one of the big, at least the time suck, right? That I get
Hmm.
1,000, I cannot really go through 1,000. I'll probably miss a few, but
Hmm.
even if I do a good job, I'll spend a lot of time doing it, right? So that matching, if there's an AI which could do exactly what a human does,
See,
bring it down to.
I would say AI. I wouldn't say AI isn't solving problem. AI is solving problem, but not to the extent of solving hiring at all, right?
Hmm.
AI is solving in making slightly faster decisions than going through, right? And uh, AI is helping. You have 100 applications in your inbox of your tool, and then you know for sure that AI is intelligent enough to throw the first matching CVs at top, and then gradually decreases. Then you know that first five CVs you see, and you know that I don't need to look at others. That these are five best. That way, it has helped influencing decisions, but also it's a very, I would say, did we really need that? I would still see that someone going to that toolbox, putting some keywords, knows that if these keywords are there in the resume, right, I'll shortlist those CVs. How much of its time was actually solved? If AI would have solved that, I've got his resume. I've already done my reference check with so many
Mhm.
people. He has notes from these many people saying that he was best at delivering this. Then it's a decision influencer. Right now, AI can only help and save time, probably, right? But if AI have gone to that extent to influence decision, that's where the game will be very interesting.
So, what exactly then they would, in your words, like what would they need to do, and what do you mean by influencing decision on this front?
I'll give you an example, right? If I get a CV which says that this CV has been recommended by these many people because these many people have worked with him.
Hmm.
A feels this about this, B feels this, C feels this. It's a resume which is where the ref check is already done, right? I would read the ref check more than the resume. That means I'm already going to look at that CV with a biasness in my mind, right? That you know what, I've already made my mind that something is there in this. There you see I'm getting influence. I made a bias then. But AI, the other way, has helped me solve my got me 1 hour back to my life. That's a great thing. I will always respect it. But this is the only thing that it has done. It has not influenced my decision to make a hiring move.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if I get a resume with AI saying that, you know what, I have actually done ref check for these five resumes. These are the five most matching resumes. And this has been vetted with last three organizations. AI has identified his managers and got the managers to speak about him and pros and cons and done well and not done well, or probably areas to improve. It has already influenced my decision of hiring. I'm not going to look at more than 10 CVs or 5 CVs. 5 CVs with recommendations, with understanding of what he has done well or not done. I think I'll not even read the CV. I've
No,
actually
correct. While
thrown
you're
a
talking, I was
solution to
thinking
this.
this is brilliant. Like,
Right,
and
this
probably
this is something
coming
probably
to pick
it is
up my
getting as a
idea.
podcast.
I'll
I
take a
know
pride on that.
I'm source of truth is still lies with me.
Yeah, they should come to you and at least have you on board. But this is fair. I mean, yeah, our main thing. So and that's how products sell anyway on online. Right? We go with social proof. Every
Yeah,
website is always giving you customer reviews.
sure.
Why don't so for us? And when I say us, I mean when I'm applying
Look
for
at
a
that.
job. For me, my customer review is what my manager, my colleagues, peers have said,
Correct.
which to an extent anyway is there on LinkedIn. Mane, if people have given you those sort of
Recommendations.
whatever
Yeah,
they,
correct.
yeah, recommendations, if on the CV those get picked up, um, interesting. Let's see when this gets built.
Yeah, yeah. See, there the AI is actually doing that human function, because I let's say a human being doing this, right? I'm going to a hiring manager. I said, you know what? I have two resumes, and I think they're the best ones. I have done ref check for both these resumes. I've connected with their ex managers. This manager has this to say, this manager has this to say, and this is what it is. If you don't believe me now, probably we should go and try. You have already influenced the hiring decision, right? The
Yep.
hiring manager would say, "भाई से बात कराओ जल्दी," right? So this is where if AI can solve this, tomorrow probably will not even recruit us. I know I'll end up killing a few talent acquisition intelligent jobs, but probably it will merely become coordinators. But why not if this helps an organization to build better, and probably talent acquisition evolves as an advisor.
And the thing is, the beauty of this is people when they're putting their recommendation, they're putting their name to it. So right, so the
Yep, yep,
truth is going to come out. Like nobody's going to
yep.
say someone. Let's say, unfortunately, the person wasn't great at their job. The
Hmm.
person isn't going to put their name on it, but somebody who's good,
Correct, correct,
right?
correct, correct.
Everybody wants
Also,
to
Ronald,
back.
even if we went to let's say very critical positions, right, at leadership, right? I know for sure in my own career of hiring leadership, right? Uh, you know, five or four out of those 10 folks probably I parked them after getting the ref check done,
Hmm.
right? So
Yes.
ref check does reveals the reality, right? Um, and those are decisions who directly influence your hiring decisions, right? Uh, Even if you have gone through 8 hours to 10 hours of your interview process with 4 to 5 rounds, right? So even if you were um, boxed it 4 out of 5 everywhere, but the ref check came that was a red flag. You wouldn't want to kind of take a chance.
Absolutely. 1,000%. I mean, I've struggled with this. Like one candidate is like, "Oh, iska offer roll out kar do," and then we do the ref check, and we are like, "Shit, this is very different from what
It
we've
does.
been
It does help.
thinking." Yeah, yeah, absolutely. This is amazing. I think this would be very good for our community, for the people function as a whole.
Yep.
It sort of
True that.
significantly helps everyone, and I hope someone builds this. Maybe I'll take a stab at it. I don't know, but
Yeah, do that, Ronak.
cool. I think just being cognizant of time, Farhan, I wanted to also sort of take a segue and move to a different topic. Again, coming from a post that I read that you had made on LinkedIn, where you'd spoken about someone like building great L&D programs in house, which and you give an example of someone actually moving from TA to product, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
true that.
wonderful to read. But for everyone listening in, and also people who are in L&D or even in the people function who are leaders, how do you exactly and actually do this? How do you build L&D programs which actually get this done, because the end state is this, right? Getting the best out of people. But the truth is also that, see, learning resources are infinite. The will to learn is finite. That's always a problem, right? How have you
True that.
navigated this and built a wonderful program that has got results?
Yeah. So one, I think the culture of the organization really stands out here because there are organizations where an employee is very scared to be vulnerable, right? There are
Mm.
organizations where an employee doesn't want to take a risk of movement, right? But here is another organization. I take a pride for my organization for sure, right? Where people are bold enough to take steps to move in parallelly to other departments, do an experiment and see how it works. And we promote this culture. We promote this culture. Our employees love this. I have examples of one of our pantry support guy moving to IT services, and probably we know that we've changed his career and life forever, right? Right.
Wow.
So today I've actually forced my L&D team to figure out basic communication skills for him, right? So one is this is purely lies on how your organization kind of behaves or what kind of culture it's promoting, right? So these are signs of there. It is going to rally, this thought is going to rally everyone then, right? It will rally your the department to also accept that risk. You know what, I'm getting a resource from talent, right? I am going to spend 6 months or near about a year. It's a big risk, right? That I'll try to groom him or her to become a product manager. Cannot be also right. It can also be that, hey, the mission failed. But here is a department who's also taken risk or have taken acceptance because the organization is behaving right. So he or she who runs that program or runs that function is also aware that my organization is also giving me that cushion to kind of do this experiment. uh, and also this brings the L&D in picture. Now the L&D in luckily, I would say lucky honestly, because the L&D that I have is world class. Very rarely I've seen they have gone to any extent to customize every bit of it, and that human element is so alive, right? So super proud to have this L&D function that I have currently in my organization, right? So they do every bit of customization. They We don't have or rather I would say, see, L&D in any organization is upskilling, simple as this.
Mm.
Knowledge sharing, awareness and upscaling, these are three things that an L&D does, right?
Yes.
Now you should not have a program where you need to fit in. You need to have a program which is built for you.
What do you
Now
mean by built for
we
you?
may not have, sorry.
What do you mean by built for you? What's the nuances of
Example,
that?
I would say, uh, in an L&D program, there are five folds or five phases, right? Say that we'll help you with this. But out of these five, probably just one is relevant to you. It is the only one which is upskilling you.
Got it.
The other four is not needed by you. Probably you have some knowledge and you have already had this. This
Got it.
may be useful for someone else. So in a training batch of 10, you have not been able to catering to all 10 at same time. And I know it is slightly difficult that how do I have customized program for each one of the employee who's with us. But I request, if an organization can grow up to having customized program for each of your team member, then you have a career progression and growth map for every employee, right from your pantry guy, housekeeping to your CEO. That's the organization who will nail this world very differently, right? I don't see any organization, like even Google or some of the giants have done this really well. But is it how well it is customized? To my knowledge, probably I may have a little less knowledge to this. I have not heard great, right? So, but this is one thing that I personally think that training should be customized and not just make someone to fit in or build a training program for someone to kind of. meet any of this aspiration, awareness or upskilling or growth, right?
And when you do that, does that automatically solve the will issue that the employee or the team member feels that, hey, because this is done for me, I see familiarity with it, so I'll keep doing this? Or is it still like forced, or you have to push? How do you solve that will
Not
issue?
at all, not at all. Ronak, the moment an employee, you have to also understand that employee is a human being, right? With emotions overflowing most of the time, right? So it is very clear that, Ronak, when you get when you get interviewed by a team who's so focused on growing you, right? It will influence you in a positive direction any day. Any human being or any employee would want to stick to that organization where he or she knows that there is an L&D function or a people function who is particularly having all the time in their life to ensure that he or she is growing and get all the support in his career. I think why not?
Yeah, I think it's a lot on that. Like, if it feels forced from the top, it won't work. But when they're seeing
Yep,
that
yep,
someone is
yep.
invested in
And it is
you.
not interesting as well. It is not interesting as well. You need classroom training. Go back to your school and right when you're corporate. Then I think, yeah, I agree. Awareness. I would say awareness is common to everyone. Awareness could be anything, but upskilling and training is supposed to be personalized.
Got it. Got it. Cool, Farhan. This has been very insightful. We spoke on and touched on a lot of things, and I think we may have $1 billion idea also discussed, or at least $1 million idea for
I
sure.
hope
We're gonna
so.
set
I
them up.
hope so. Yeah, yeah. Sure, sure.
But any closing thoughts, Farhan, where people can find you? Just any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I think I'm addicted to LinkedIn, right? So I would you wouldn't find me in many other social platforms where I'm very active. I'm very much active in LinkedIn. Um, Unfortunately, I've not been able to add many because I think LinkedIn in my account has gone beyond 30,000. So it is only letting people to follow me then, right? So but do drop in mails or messages. I take time to read, but I ensure that I read every inbox that I have, be it even an application. But I often fail to respond to many because of overflooded with applications, but I go through everyone. But there are some interesting ones who definitely gets my attention. I definitely connect with them, that I do well. Yeah, I think LinkedIn is the best way to stay in touch with me. I love to have such connects, Ronak. So probably I would love to have another connect with you as well. And I think you're doing wonderful stuff, right?
Thank
It's
you.
it's great to share thoughts. If I can influence, I'm not looking at influencing everybody, but I'll consider this very successful podcast if I have touched even one soul. I think the objective is met.
Absolutely, and that's pretty much why I'm even doing this, right?
Sure,
Just
sure.
even if one person comes back and says that, "Hey, I heard this, and it has made my life even 0.1% better," then it's just
Sure,
success.
sure.
All right, cool. Thank you, Farhan, for coming on. It was wonderful having you here. We spoke a lot of things,
Great.
and again,
Same
we'll
here.
be connected. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure, sure. Thanks, Ronak. Thanks. You have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please do hit a subscribe. It's really, really going to be helping me out. Thank you, and see you next time.